Hello, everybody. Kenny Matthews here with my man Billy Martin Jr. on Balls to the Wall, episode number 27. My man with the pipe today, my co-host, Billy Martin Jr. How are you doing today, buddy?
What do you mean, how am I doing today? We got baseball, Kenny. I'm happy.
We got the great game, the green grass. We got a little spring training. We got hot dogs, apple pie, popcorn.
I heard they were afraid that they were going to implement what you and I talked about on our last show, making both sides get together twice a week for 2 hours.
Yes.
We're getting this done.
Yes, they did. But we will definitely get to that because that was the surprise move as our pod came to edit last week. Everybody knew we had an agreement. Billy and I were hoping for the last hour type agreement when we taped last week. And for us baseball nuts, it came through. It was a beautiful day to see that. So, but yes, we're going to get to that in a minute. But we do want to say, hey, can you please subscribe to us at Balls to the Wall on YouTube, Rumble, Anchor, and Spotify. All you need to do is just hit that button there on the subscription down. That helps us out, brings us some good content for you guys. Also, we're up for any suggestions in your suggestion box for us and any improvements, any topics that you may want to talk about. Please let us know. We would greatly appreciate it. I mean, the month of March is real busy normally, but we had a CBA kind of drip into the month of March this time around that gave us some added drama. And wow. Knocked me over with a feather. Last Wednesday, we come down with an agreement that stunned the world, to me and to you, I know. I just want to say props to Tony Clark, tops to Manford, tops to the owners for being able to get this deal done. And the best part about it, Billy, we get 162 games too. So, I mean, I guess people on the East Coast might be liking this April 7th start. It's a little hotter April 7th than March 29th and 30th. But I'm just happy that it's here and we get to celebrate the 75th anniversary at Chavez Ravine this year against the Cincinnati Reds to give homage to Jackie Robinson, number 42.
Absolutely.
Billy, how great was that last week?
Oh man, to put it in perspective, the way they butt heads, the way we were getting so down about it, there are still things that are up in the air.
Yes.
They've agreed with some vagueness. They've agreed with, okay, the trade deadline gonna be within this week. We'll figure it out. I mean, that really shows that both sides were busting their butt to make this happen.
Is that the first time you saw trust in both sides to say that? We're going to agree that we're going to, hey, in the next couple of weeks, knock out the rest of the stuff. Let's get this going. Is that the first time you've had trust between both of those guys?
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. I mean, it's beautiful. It really is. I love to see him get it. We were so worried that Manfred wasn't getting it because he's not had feeling for so many things that have happened. And but you know what? There's a reason why he's there. And obviously he's a good enough attorney to know when to say when and when to pull the trigger. And kudos to him, kudos to all of them. I'm thrilled.
I think my hat's off to him for convincing the Kansas City Royals, the Pittsburgh Pirates, those guys to agree to a higher CBT tax, going in, which hurts them. I mean, because that, in all out actuality, it makes that division between the top and the bottom even more because Yankees and the Dodgers and those guys can afford to spend more than the Kansas City Royals and the Pittsburgh Pirates. I mean, to convince them to come along with this deal here, I thought was huge. But let alone, I think the biggest telling thing out of this is the executive council, which is voted on by your players. They vote for 8 guys to be your executive guy, to be in these meetings, in these negotiations. Well, last Tuesday, they voted 0-8 to accept this deal. But they had a miscalculation, I would say, because the rank and file came out with an 24-6 vote to approve it. So let me tell you this, who took a bigger hit on that day than Scott Boras, since 5 of Boras's clients were on that executive council? Scott Boras, but you have to give him props for waiting another week because he got a much better deal between the 7 days. So, I mean, he took it on the chin on one side, but, you know, he did get the players a better deal all around, missing that first week.
Well, and maybe those 5 votes against were Boris guys. I don't know.
Well, the Mets was one of them, and you knew that because of their owner. I mean, their owner wants to spend, you know, $1 billion if he can. So, I mean, you know, I can see why he doesn't like that ceiling, you know, for that.
Sure.
But, you know, but I mean, I think they miscalculated that, hey, you guys may be busting your butt and you raise the minimum salary and all this other stuff, but we've missed games in the last 2 years. We've missed paychecks in the last 2 years for this. We can't keep missing it. And maybe there was an element amongst the players that said, this is a pretty good deal. We got a lot of what we wanted. Why are we going to allow this to keep going? So I wonder if cooler heads took over, if smarter people being more connected to what the negotiations are about and knowing what it is. I mean, I think it's different from when your dad was around. A lot of players just trusted their union rep on a lot of these things. Now you had these guys at home doing the research. You know, the internet's really opened it up where you could get information. So maybe the rank and file is just smarter about that. But that voice was heard very loud, you know, from the 60%, the 69% that don't make all of the money. So, you know, kudos to them. I mean, it's the first time it's ever been voted against. The executive council have the rank and file ever voted against them. And I thought, wow, that's pretty damning, to say the least.
No, it's a great day. And now, how much fun have these last few days been? I mean, all these signings, all these trades. You know, we were just talking off the air. Chris Bryant just signs with the Rockies for, you know, 160 some million.
182.
I mean,
182. Don't rob him of his 18. 182. What a no trade clause.
The trade that I love, but you know, how much of that agreement just caused Oakland to say goodbye, Olsen, goodbye, Chapman, goodbye, Bassett. You know, wow.
Did Oakland want to make sure that they call this not tanking if you just do it before the season starts? You know, I mean, they're not tanking, are they? I mean, they're saying, hey, we're getting young now. Before the season starts, we're going. So, I mean, I think it's brilliant because if you know you're not going to be able to pay those players, you still have a stadium situation that's way up in the air out there. So, I mean, I'm sure the ownership group's out there saying, hey, we really can't go bring more big time salary on top of this, not knowing where we're going to play. So I might as well load up on all the top prospects you can. And man, you see the numbers by those prospects that they got back in those 2 trades, and they have those 3 trades they've done. I mean, you know, Billy, I know this season's going to be ugly. I know next season will probably be ugly. But if you are moving into a new stadium, say in 3 years from now, man, you're going to have a Cleveland Indian 1994, 1995 S type, you know, young players that you still have control over. So, I mean, kudos to them in a way. I mean, I hate it for Oakland A's fan right now because they can't get really excited about the season, you know, with, you know, their guys being gone. But if I would say patience. You know, us Ranger fans had to fight through that the last couple of years, saying, hey, just be patient. We got some young guys that are going to be coming up. Because, I mean, they got a mother load of prospects where, Billy, you and I both know that 40-man roster issues they're going to have in a couple of years where they're going to be loaded with high-end prospects, you know.
Oh, absolutely. You know, Billy Beane, funny, when Moneyball came out, and his thing was draft the college guy with your first couple picks, you know. it was interesting because then all of a sudden you saw all the teams do that, right? We got to. Well, then he'd already mutated to some new things, you know. Then it was get your guy to their highest value and trade him to other teams for all these prospects that they spent all this money on. He gets for free before he has to pay this premium player all these millions of dollars. And we're watching it right now. And I'm sure Ace fans are mad at losing Chapman and Olsen and all their best guys. But I'll tell you what, they got some great players from the freaking Braves. Shea Langoliers can flat out play. So
he's a Keller Indian kid. You know, he's a local kid from us. You know, he's a Keller Indian, Baylor Bear.
Baylor has this magic touch with catchers, anyways.
Yeah.
But that kid not only is great defensively, he can hit, man. He can hit, and he can hit for power.
Billy,
and they got a great catcher right now.
Billy, this is what I found out about him. I didn't realize that they kept him on the roster, the World Series roster last year.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, you try to guy that didn't play one game in the MLB season last year, and they deemed him important enough to keep him on the roster for the World Series, the biggest stage.
And we're talking catcher. We're not talking about left field. We're talking about a guy that's got to work with your staff. And I mean, yeah. And look, Oakland has Sean Murphy, 27-year-old stud of a catcher. Okay. On the bench, they've got Austin Allen, who's 28-year-old, and he can swing it and catch too and play a little first base. I mean, so, you know, that's their next trade, I'm guessing, one of those two.
You know, I read something from Hal Steinbrenner yesterday, and it said, you know, about the Judge, you know, and Judge trying to re-sign Judge this year. Aaron Judge, the great outfielder for the Yankees, who's in his final year of his rookie deal status. And he said, you know, I told Cashman we need to get our roster ready now because we only have 3.5 weeks to get our roster. We'll deal with Aaron Judge once we do that, because all of these rosters are still in a flux. You still got 150 guys not signed right now. So when you got the, you know, log jams at like first base, like the Yankees, they got Voit, they got Rizzo re-signed, and they got, you know, DJ LeMahieu who could play first base there. You know, Voit is now on the board to go someplace else for sure. You know, I mean, they're not going to keep the injury plagued Voit again. I don't think at that. Plus, he's arbitration eligible too. But you know, how many people though are like that, Billy, that haven't signed yet that are darn good players, where you're going to get some good deals or maybe some bargain basement deals here in a week or two on some proven veteran talent that, man, did like a team like the Rangers cherry pick somebody, you know, get somebody here to fill in on a rotation or in the bullpen. I mean,
or a guy like Trevor Story gets tired of the dance and just says, you know what, I'll give you a hometown discount because I'd rather live at home.
Right.
You're absolutely right. And talking about the Yankees, I mean, are they really going to war with Roosevelt, the catcher?
Yeah.
And Ishikawa?
Defensively, yes.
I can't get either one of their names. Okay. And when you've got guys out here, and there's a new issue that just came out. New York City.
Yes.
If you're not vaccinated, you cannot play. And what I don't know, can the visiting team's players play there?
It's just like the Kyrie Irving situation for the Nets. It's the exact same thing. Visitors can come in and play in the Garden, but you cannot play because you live in New York. Yes.
Wow.
And even to compound that, Billy, Toronto, they won't let you in the country if you're not fully vaccinated. So all games in Toronto, you've got to have 2 shots in the arm or the one Johnson & Johnson before you go. I mean, and it says forfeit game checks. So it's not like Kyrie Irving where they're going to pay him. It's forfeiting money for the vaccination. So
and service time.
yes.
And service time, which to these guys is even more important than now money because it's tomorrow's money.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Billy, that's I call that the Jokic deal for tennis player. Put your money where your mouth is. If you're going to say you're not going to get vaccinated, then you just say, hey, I'm going to take it in the shorts and not play in some events. I salute that. I salute that big time. But I said, when a governing body says you got to do something, ask all those firefighters and police guys that got let go in the state of New York because they refused to get that vaccination. You don't get a pass as a baseball player either, right or wrong. You don't.
Yeah. I mean, I got to be honest. I understand it more for first responders.
Yes, absolutely.
Our armed services. It's always been, Uncle Sam owns your ass. I mean, we've known that forever. You know that when you join. But wow, for baseball,
I read where they thought that since it was an outdoor event, that you would be able to get around it. It's not enclosed, like the Madison Square Garden and things of that nature. And that's what a lot of players were hoping, I think, that didn't want to get. I mean, if you listen to Aaron Judge today, he was very vague about if he's been vaccinated or not. He wasn't as bad as Aaron Rodgers, but he sure tap danced around it. So I mean, if you're a Yankee fan, as I am, if he's not in the lineup when you're playing at home, it changes the complexion of your team big time. I guess maybe you might know this. If the player doesn't play, does that game check come off of the books at that time? So if you miss 3 games, does that come back down? I don't know. I mean, I would assume because he's not getting paid. So why would you charge that against the cap? That's my assumption, and I shouldn't assume, not readily knowing.
No, there's no telling on that. Yeah. That's something we'll have to dive into later because there are so many things. With the new agreement, they're bringing back something called the draft and follow.
Yes, I thought about you when they did that. I got a big explanation of exactly how that went over the weekend. So I said, man, my boy Billy Martin Jr. has got to be extremely happy about this one.
I am, because I happen to hold the all-time record with one of my Yankee clients who went to McLennan Community College, who just won the national championship this past year. And kind of neat. My kid got $1.7 million as a draft and follow guy, and evidently I will continue to hold the all-time draft and follow record because now they can only sign for it's either 225 or 250.
Yeah, I think it was. It was something of that nature. But yeah, I knew that's what it was. It's somewhere in there.
It's a neat thing though because it's for that kid that's clean shaven because he hasn't gone all the way through puberty. He's an underdeveloped kid that is playing with the big boys, and you see him and you watch him and you're like, man, what's this kid going to turn into when he gets his man strength? And
the late birthday guy, the guy that turns 18 after his senior year in August or in September. So from just the maturity wise, and development of body, it helps that kid out. And it still keeps him in the game too at the same time. He's going to go up against competition. He's going to be practicing. He's going to be playing with the junior college team. So it's not like he's, in some poor dunk league or whatever, a fall, a short season. No, he's going to play a full season. So, gives you a lot of opportunities to look at him and say, hey, is this what we want to do or not do? Instead of just putting him out there being a free agent, or maybe he's playing for the 48,000 or whatever it is, the minor league deal, at that time, So, I think it's a great deal. I mean, I know they got rid of it the last collective bargaining agreement is when they got rid of that rule? Yeah. Okay.
Well, no, actually not. They got rid of it after the year Mike.
Okay. Gotcha.
Because, which is really kind of funny if you think about it.
Mhm.
It's like you shut this down because you couldn't control your own spending. You know, I mean,
One reason why the
I
National
met
Football League's got a salary cap because they can't control their spending.
exactly because I met one of the kids that got $1 million the next year. We were in some restaurant bar, and Martin, he's like, dude, I owe you a beer. He bought me a beer because he was like, thanks. My agent said, had you guys not done what you did, we probably wouldn't have been where we were at. And I mean, at the end of the day, those guys and my guys still could have gotten much more had maybe we just gone to the draft. We'll never know. We'll never know the other side because it didn't happen.
Right.
But,
Right.
oh, well, let's move on because I know we're getting on.
Yeah, but
Here.
well, let's just say, hey, we're just glad that it's here. We're not sitting here with the doom and gloom and saying, wow, we've got these missed games and everything. We will have 162 games this year, and we won't have 163. That's one of the rules. We're not going to have that play-in game anymore. If two teams finish tied, they're going to have some mathematical formula that's going to figure that out at the end. So no more game like 163. I don't like that.
I don't like that, Penny. I want the games decided on the field where men play.
You've had some of the best games played in Major League history on game 163. Why?
Yes,
because of the extended playoffs, and you think there's not enough time. We play 6 games in 7 days a week anyway.
What's one more day?
And how often does that happen? That's the other thing. It doesn't happen that often. So why take that drama of the winner gives in, the other winner goes home? I don't understand it. I didn't like that part of it, but that's okay. I mean, I can live with it, but man, I sure wish we can get that 163 from time to time. Sure is nice.
I'd much rather have 163 than runners on second base in the 9th inning or 10th inning. But
yeah.
And you know what? My son, Billy the Third, came up with a good idea on that. He said, how about we go 2 extra innings, 3 extra innings, and then do that.
I would
give
like
them a chance to play it out. But maybe you say anything after midnight, or then you go to the runner on second base. I
would like that too. Maybe the 13th inning, the 12th inning, something of that sort. I would like to have it happen then, but
the 13th inning is bad luck, so we can't go there. Yeah, I
mean, I don't like that. And the other thing I do like is we're not going to have 7-inning freaking double headers either. I hated that. You can have a big inning in the first, and you had a bullpen game the rest of the way. And I was like,
think about that though. Think about what a 7-inning game would have meant to your staff 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, when you expected every starter to go 7+,
right?
I mean, that meant bullpen can go out to the bars tonight because we got fresh arms. We need.
You might have went back to the other way around when you actually had 15 bench players. You might not have had positional players instead of what the 3 it's kind of chic to have 3 now, a utility, an outfielder, and a backup catcher. You might have to go back to the old ways where you only had 11 or 10 pitchers, because they only pitched once a week, maybe, if the pitcher got bombed. So
wow.
Wilbur Wood would have loved to have pitched 7-inning doubleheaders. He probably would have pitched both games of the doubleheader.
Well, I mean, look at this. The great Babe Ruth, who's no longer the World Series MVP award, but the great Babe Ruth won a 14-inning game. He pitched a complete 14-inning game in the World Series to win 2-1. I mean,
Unreal.
Yeah.
Or the
There's a
great
good thing.
game from Warren Spahn and Juan Martial, 13 and 12 and a half innings between them in a 1-0 game with a Willie Mays walk-off home run. I mean, good grief. It's unreal. And we do one other thing that was shocking in the baseball world a little bit. We're not going to have Joe Buck at Fox anymore, and he will not be calling World Series games anymore. And I looked this up the other day after I talked to you, Billy Martin. Between his dad and him, we have 35 World Series called by those two guys, that duo. 24 for Buck. He's tied with Tim McCarver on that. And 11 from his dad. And that's not even including his dad calling games on CBS radio when he wasn't calling the games when it was within the NBC. When the game was with it, because at that time we switched from CBS to NBC for the World Series, he was always on radio calling the game when he wasn't behind the booth. I mean, you're talking about an iconic family that means a whole lot to the biggest stage of baseball. Those guys are pretty up there in the, in the wars of that with McCarver, obviously, and Mel Allen. That's really surprised me because of the money, and I know how avid of a baseball fan Joe Buck is. I mean, he obviously came from a baseball family, came from one of the best baseball franchises in the United States in St. Louis. I mean, that guy breathes and sleeps baseball. I know he loves Troy Aikman. I know he loves calling the games on Friday. But I'm going to tell you, this is my point of view here on this, and it'll be real quick. Billy, Monday Night Football has lost a lot of luster to me. It's almost an afterthought when I get to Monday night now because I get to see every football game I want to on Sunday. Whereas when you and I were growing up, sometimes we only got one football game.
That was it. No, you were so excited to see Howard Cosell and
absolutely
John. I mean,
absolutely.
I still, every game I watch, when I just realize, oh, it's over, this team won, I start, turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all.
No better trio ever. No better trio ever. In the era where we had limited channels, that's the other thing. Our options were limited on TVs on what we could watch. And then I got lucky in my later years. My dad allowed me to stay up late for the halftime highlights of Howard.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you got mad when my Pittsburgh Steelers weren't including the highlights. But I mean, I know they got money whipped to death. I get it. I understand it's money. I understand that $20 million is a lot of money to turn down, but you've lost a lot of national stage now going forward, just doing the 16 Monday night games and the wild card playoff game. I mean, he's relegated to 17 events and he's not calling baseball on ESPN. So I get it on one side, but I'm kind of disappointed that he left. I mean, I think Joe Buck, he's phenomenal on the World Series games, the way he calls games. I'm going to miss that.
Oh, he is. He's got the voice. He's got the right demeanor. It could just have to do with Jackie the Joke Man and going back to his HBO special and Jackie the Joke Man coming out with Joe's alter ego. I don't know. My partner's laughing because Joe used to have his own show on HBO, and he had Jackie the Joke Man, who was a Howard Stern writer, and they
very underrated funny guy. Very underrated funny guy.
Right. It was the most uncomfortable show I've ever watched in my life. And we're talking a taped show. We're not talking a live show here. Here these two guys are. They both went to high school together. They both climbed to pretty much pinnacles of their profession.
Yes.
And they're having this great interview, and all of a sudden it's winding down. There's about 5-10 minutes to go in the show. And then Jackie the Joke Man takes this shot at Joe, insinuating that he's gay, that he was performing fellatio on everybody while they were in high school. And Joe Buck just looks at him. It's the most awkward, uncomfortable moment. Only the first presidential debate.
Yes.
But that was live. That was an event. This was a taped show that Joe Buck allowed to be aired, and it's the Joe Buck show. I'm like, so I still to this day don't know. Did he allow that because he's so confident in his masculinity that he knows the world thinks that's a joke?
Yeah.
Or was he coming out? Or what? But I'm sorry, if somebody says that about me on my show, I'm never airing that show. And I'm probably, as soon as the cameras are off, beating the crap out of that guy.
That's what I was thinking. And we said off camera, he convinced the staff to air it afterwards. I mean, you know that the mouth had to drop when you heard that from the people behind the scenes, your producer, your ex-executive producer, your filming crew, and they still went on and said, we'll put it out there.
Or how about maybe we just delete that part? Maybe
I mean,
I just delete the part where he says that, okay? And air the rest.
It's so easy to edit these days, too. I think Joe didn't want to get in a sparring match with the great Jackie. Jackie is one of the quickest, funny-minded guys that you'll know. And if you're gonna go throw this, if you're gonna go toe-to-toe with Jackie, you better have your A+ game.
You better bring it.
Man.
Yeah,
So
but you know what? But once again, you can edit.
Yes.
And here's something I'll say. I don't know if Joe's ever done a tape show before. I gotta guess he has, but everything else he's done has been live, right? His whole world has been live. So maybe he didn't think that way. That's what y'all watching. You might want to check it out. Find it on YouTube. It is so awkward, weird, especially when you realize these two guys went to high school together, and it's Joe's show. So we'd love some feedback on what y'all think about that.
You want to talk about a show coming to a scorching halt for about 45 seconds. It is great theater for that alone. It is. And Joe is one of the consummate pros when it comes to talking publicly. He was body blowed. He was body blowed several times. It is fun, but I will say congratulations to Joe and Troy. I mean, that's some serious coinage they're paying these announcers now. I mean, you're talking about $20 million a year, $17 and $18 million a year. I mean, somewhere Ben Scully's got to be thinking, I still got the pipes. I probably could go out there and still call some games, dude, if I know they're going to throw around Jack like that. But I mean, that's huge. That is just absolutely huge. But we do appreciate you guys listening to us. We appreciate if you go to all of our private sectors like YouTube and Anchor and Spotify and Facebook and Twitter, man. We like it and like our suggestions, man. We really appreciate it. I tell Billy every week, and I do mean this to the bottom of my heart, it's the funnest hour of the week. I enjoy this. And next week, we will have our first guest next week. It'll be Dan Vaughn, Texas Tech grad, one of my lifetime friends. He is the radio announcer of the Kansas City Monarchs of the American Baseball Association. And the reason we're going to have him in is because the aforementioned Jackie Robinson Day is coming up April 15th. And Jackie Robinson started his minor league career with the Kansas City Monarchs. So it's going to be really fun to talk to him and see what the Monarchs are doing this year for all the celebrations of Jackie Robinson, obviously. And Danny's got a really good insight and got a lot of knowledge of all that. So I thought it'd be really good to kind of buffer him up a little bit with some questions on that, because it's going to be really, really good. And I think this year is going to have an added sense of pride since we had to, come to the, almost the scorching halt of the season. Now that it's here, I think once after opening day is over, you're going to see the focus on Jackie Robinson Day come big time, between promotions, whatever may be the case. a lot of people are going to talk about it. You're probably going to try to talk to as many elderly people of the game. Now, I have a feeling Willie Mays will probably have, talk about that, some of those kind of guys that were around. I wish Hank Aaron was around still for this. I think he would have been a perfect person to talk about Jackie Robinson. Great pitcher, but great Mickey Martin Sr., Billy Martin Sr. Yes. Two great second basemen right there, buddy.
Hey, that was 1953 at the start of the season.
Right.
After Dad caught Jackie's pop fly.
Oh, yeah, in the World Series.
Yeah,
yep, in the World Series.
Just caught his pop fly to end the 52 World Series. And look at the look on their face.
Yes.
they're both
yes, it is. And that's great that you have that picture, because Jackie Robinson's not known to smile much. That's one of the criticisms about Jackie, is that he took so much in that he forgot to smile. So to get a picture with your dad with Jackie Robinson smile, that's kudos. Because
they had a respect that was crazy. Jackie was the best second baseman in the game. Okay, my father couldn't hang with him during the regular season, but in the postseason, Dad was a little better, and
yes,
so that was kind of one of their little jokes between each other.
Yes, he was.
And then him catching Jackie's ball made it even that much more. But you can see by Jackie's smile there that he got a kick out of it, and he respected Dad. And he said, "Man, this guy could really play in the big games." And he said some great things about my father there. And they had a great respect for each other.
I think one of the biggest sketches in World Series play is your dad, because you had the entire Yankee infield and pitcher standing still. And all of a sudden, your dad looked like Jackie Robinson. Your dad looked like Jackie Robinson on the dead sprint to catch that ball. I mean, that catch is not easy at full speed. It is not. And your dad made it look pretty damn routine. He really did. Yeah.
The catcher, first baseman's ball.
Easily.
Because nobody let the pitcher catch anything, right?
I don't know who was on first.
Up and realized, holy crap, nobody's going to catch this ball.
I don't know if Enos Slaughter was playing first base. Maybe that's the reason why he wasn't there then, or if it was Moose Scouring. I mean, whatever he was doing, he was taking a good picture of it, because he wasn't in the proximity of it. That's for sure.
I think Moose was a little afraid of that ball, and he was going to go catch it. And he's like, "Come on, man, I got all this gear on. What are you doing?"
Oh, that's great. Well, hey, just a few weeks ago, we were putting this guy in the grave, giving him his praise of retiring on top with every quarterback record that can be imaginable in the NFL. We gave him all the kudos, the pats on the back. And 5.5 weeks later, he says, "I've had enough of being home around these kids and the wife. It's time for me to get back out there and start throwing the football again." And we were talking about the GOAT. Tom Brady returns back to the Buccaneers. I'm going to say what we were saying last week, Billy. He caught wind of the NFC quarterbacks that were returning and said, "You know what? I'm probably the best one out of all those guys. Maybe not name Aaron Rodgers. I probably got a good shot at getting back to the Super Bowl. Let's give it one more try."
Well, it's funny. Everybody wants to act like it's this conspiracy thing or this drama thing, or so he could get more money for his last pass football, last pass or whatever. End of the day, here's what happened, people. And I don't know this, but I've been around sports long enough to know what happened. The season ended. He got away from all the cameras. He got away from all the glitz and the glamour and the reporters, and got to go spend time with his family. I bet they went and did like most athletes, and went and took a nice 2-week vacation at some resort to totally get away from the world. And then they all talked about it. And after the end of the week, he said, you know what? If I got another year in here, I might as well try it.
Yep.
And kudos to him for doing that, because I obviously we're blessed to watch it every minute we see him on the field.
Yeah, I think that another thing for Brady it comes down to is, we even said it here when we heard the retirement round. We said, well, he went out on top. I mean, he almost brought his team back to that win there at Tampa Bay against the eventual
That's not the top for Brady.
But that's not the top for Brady. That's not it. He's got to be hoisting that trophy over his head, the Vince Lombardi trophy, and says, that's what I want to do. So, and I think the media try to create this storybook ending. They try to say, he was just short. I know as competitive as Brady is, he probably was eating on him a little bit about week 2 or week 3 of that vacation. Yes. And then when he said, you know what? I will maybe leave the door open that I never say never, all those kind of things. Once you say that, are you really officially retired at that point in time? I really don't think so. And like you said, I just think he walked away, took a couple deep breaths, went from his stomach to his back, got a nice sunburn, had a few, drinks, had some sand in between his toes with his beautiful wife and kids, and says, you know what? I want to play football again. And
I think he was at that resort.
Yeah.
I think he was at that resort, had lots of drinks, and said, I meant to say retired, and I'm playing. And here he is. Good for him, man. Good for him.
Well, how many quarterbacks can retire and come back and still probably be the best quarterback in the National Football League, if not in the top 3? Not many. And then you put in his age on top of that. It's just.
My son and I were at a party about a month ago, and we got to spend a little time with her. I was thinking to myself, man, he looks like he can still play. Captain Comeback still had some funk
at 80. He still probably got a little fastball on him.
I mean, he looks pretty good.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Roger the Dodger.
That picture he looks old in, but his body and everything else was like, get out of here, man. He was still sharp as a tack. I got to admit, I was a little nervous talking to Captain Comeback.
Yes, sirree. He brings presence when he steps into a room. Automatic respect. Whatever room he steps into.
And you know who left right before he got there?
Who's that?
The recipient of the Hail Mary pass.
Drew Pearson. Double eight.
Pretty cool.
Yes, guy. Hall of Famer now, finally, double eight, Drew Pearson. Many years late, but at least we did fix the mistake. And he was still alive to do it. So that's even better. That's even better. Well, we appreciate you listening here on Balls to the Wall, episode number 27. And our final topic will be here, no pun intended, our final 4 picks. We talked last week about how exciting championship week last week. It had a lot of exciting games last week in the smaller tournaments, had some upsets this weekend that put some people out of the tournament. My beloved Sooners were one of the first 4 out due to the Virginia Techs of the world and the Richmonds of the world doing some upsets down the stretch. But you know what? You got to take care of business early and don't put yourself in that situation. Don't let you never want the committee to have your hands. Never do. So, but yeah, we had some real good stuff. And I mean, think about it. We had some play-in games yesterday. We have play-in games in today. We're going to have beautiful weather in the Metroplex. I can't wait till tomorrow to sit back, maybe have 1 or 2 adult beverages and just dive into knee-deep basketball tomorrow. But Billy and I decided we'd give our 4 and 4 picks, and we like to kind of give our picks before these big events start. We swung and missed in baseball last year. We swung and missed in Super Bowl last year. Gosh dang it, we're going to try to hit it home this time in basketball.
We were close, you know. And hey, we're taking these swings early. And I got to admit, I'm a little bit of a homer when it comes to this stuff. It's hard for me to just go with what my brain says because my gut says something different quite often. And, you know, yours and my picks are going to be different. They always are. And I do that sometimes on purpose. I got to tell you all the truth because it's more fun
to have the same thing.
Yeah, you know, if we're always picking the same thing, what's the point, right?
Well, and this year we talked off camera before we started. This is about as wide open as a tournament you're ever going to have. We did not have one dominant team the entire year. I mean, I know Gonzaga was number one for a good chunk of it, but remember, they got just absolutely shell-shocked just 2.5 weeks ago out at St. Mary's on a Saturday night. So, I mean, it's not like that they're in, you know, they can't be beat because, I mean, they obviously can. And I think it's hard. That's why I did not pick, you know, more than 2 number 1 seeds to try to get to the Final Four because I just don't think that that's going to happen this year. I think it's just too evenly balanced. It's exactly what baseball wants. You know, that they won't get, but we definitely got it in NCAA basketball tournament every year. That's for sure. I'll start. Why don't we go back 1-1? I'll start with the West. I did take Gonzaga. Yes, people that know me know I'm very close to Drew Timme. Yes, I did go up to Spokane about a month ago and had a great time on the weekend out there to see the senior night up there. Yes, I'm a homer. Yes, I picked Gonzaga last year. They got me to the championship game, but I did not get over the hump last year. But I think that Gonzaga, I think that the way they got them set up in the West is for success. I think Duke is kind of shaky number 2 on that line out that way. The way they kind of limped in late to the year, they got shell-shocked by North Carolina. Virginia Tech rolled them out of the gym in the ACC tournament last weekend. That's the reason why I think Gonzaga will make it to New Orleans out of the West. Who do you got coming out of the West?
Okay. Of course, you had to start with the West.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Because that's the only one I've got like a tie.
Okay.
And come on, half of that tie I have to do. I'm a Texas Tech Red Raider.
That's right. You know? They're the 3 seed in there.
They're the 3 seed. And the 2 seed got a pretty good coach that might be saying goodbye, right? And so
they could be playing in a great Sweet 16 game.
Red Raiders in that one because that's the only one I got the slash where I got 2 teams sitting there.
Hey, I did the same thing. It's okay. It's your bracket. It's your bracket.
Gonzaga can only win when they're the underdog. You know, they can't handle being the favorite. And so I went with Duke / Texas Tech, and
all right,
that was a really tough bracket for me.
Yeah, and that's not far-fetched. Your Texas Tech Red Raiders were there just 3 years ago in the final game. So
if they can hit their shots, they can play D with anybody.
Yes, that's right? I was going to say that. We know one thing they're going to do. They're going to lock you up for 93 feet. If they can throw the occasional ball into the bucket, they're going to win. You know, that's been their ding. They just have a hard time scoring sometimes. But I mean, what an excellent job he's done this year. I mean, kudos.
Oh my
God. Nobody predicted them to be a number 3 seed in this tournament. They probably
we just lost our coach who went back to his alma mater.
Right. Yeah.
In the Final Four, the national championship, overtime of national championship. And look what he's done. It's talk about maybe unrespected coach in college basketball.
I think he's done more with less than anybody in the big time in the Big 12 this year for sure. And I think you can give him you can put him in that topic, for National Coach of the Year. Because, I mean, he lost some people from the recruiting class that were counting on playing for him this year because Beard left. They were down for dead, last summer when that happened. And, man, here they are, number 3 seed in the tournament. Major props. Yep. We'll go to the East. I picked the UCLA Bruins. The UCLA Bruins this year have not played up to what their standards were at the beginning of the year. They were ranked as high as 2. They definitely were in the top 5 at the beginning of the year. They've lost some games they should not have. They did not win the Pac-12. They did not win the Pac-12 tournament, but they still have the key core of all those guys that got them to the Final Four last year. They have excellent big men down low. Juzrag, I think, is one of the best players in the country. That's the reason why I picked them to upset Purdue in the finals of that region to advance to play Gonzaga in Louisiana.
Okay. I'm always going to lean to the Big 12, so I bet you can guess who I'm going to pick.
Baylor. The Bears.
I couldn't help it.
Great pick. I mean,
they're so athletic, man. They really are. They're very different night to night, I know. But if they can figure out how to make it, there's good athletes out there.
The reason I did pick them is when they lost his name has forgotten me. When they lost their player about 3 weeks ago, I thought that they were a dark horse to win, maybe to repeat. That was really the only reason. So it was kind of a coin flip between me and UCLA and Baylor. That was the only reason. But yes, I could definitely see Baylor in the Big Easy for sure come that, a couple Saturdays from now, because, they are so athletic, as you said, and their wing players and post players are just as athletic as the guards are. So they're a tough cover just for that reason alone. So yes, I could see that. I'd have no qualms at all with Baylor being there. None. Then let's go to the South. This is where I kind of, stuck my hand out there a little bit. I'm going to go with the Tennessee Volunteers out of this one. They played extremely well. They won the SEC tournament, obviously, last weekend. The job that, I've gone brain dead on their coach again that used to be down at UT. He's there now. He's done a phenomenal job there at Tennessee. He's kind of under the scale, it seems like. Rick Barnes.
What's the deal with that, Kenny? Mm-hmm. What's the deal with that? Is he like only coach at schools that are orange with the big T?
Yeah, no kidding.
Kind of weird.
Yeah, he is. Is he gonna
pretty color?
Is he gonna replace Boeheim up in Syracuse in a couple years? Well, Rick Barnes has done an excellent job over there in the SEC, which, Kentucky always seems to be the highlight of the SEC year after year, but you always notice that Tennessee is right up there in the top of that hoop there. They've got excellent guard play. I have them beating Illinois in a real close game in that regional final there. I believe that game would be on Sunday. So that's who I picked out of that region. I know a lot of people like Villanova in that region. I've always liked Villanova. I think they're shooting 83% from the free throw line as a team. Yeah, I said that right. 83% as a team. So wow. That will win you some ball games in the tournament for sure. But I just wanted to do something different. And I thought the Volunteers might be a good ride there. So that's who I took. Billy, who do you got in the South?
Okay. I'm going to go with Arizona, man.
They're good.
They just look so much better to me. The last time I saw them play, and to me, this is all about momentum.
Pac-12 tournament too.
I almost went to school there too. I always have those extra reasons I have to pick a team, but
me being a Gonzaga fan, I'm rooting hard for Tommy Lloyd. He's been an assistant up in Gonzaga for 18 years. He's done a phenomenal job with it. he walked into a buzzsaw a little bit. That Arizona team has got maybe some sanctions. I mean, you got to remember their coach was, kicked out the door because of some recruiting violations that may be coming to head down the line. And all he's done out there is done a great job. I think they lost just 3 games for the year. They won the Pac-12 league. They won the Pac-12 tournament. They're big and athletic. That's a good bet. I would probably, if I had to change my bracket, I probably would pick Arizona to do that, to win. But I also worry about when you're first time a head coach navigating the tournament. It's easier when you're sitting over there saying, yeah, guys, let's go. And you're listening to the head man in charge make all the calls. But when you got to do it sometimes, it's a whole new ball game then. So I'm risen for Tommy Lloyd for me being a Zag. But yeah, that's a good pick there, Billy. I really like it. And last but not least, we'll go to the Midwest. And I could not find any reason for Kansas not to be there. I tried my best to look through there for a team that I thought that they were going to lose to, and I just couldn't do it. I'm not one of those. I treat Kansas kind of like Duke. I don't like them, but dang it, I have to respect them. I have to respect them.
Oh, I'm with you there. I watched the last game. I'm here to get.
And I call that
really my take too. I put down Auburn just to be a contrarian to my buddy Kenny, but yeah, if I were putting real money on it.
Yes, I think the Big 12 tournament trophy is going to be called the Bill Self Award. It should. I mean, because he's won it, I think 13 times now. I mean, that's unreal. And this is the most loaded the Big 12 conference has ever been. And some things just never change, do they? Kansas still winning the Big 12 tournament. I mean, it's unreal. I mean, they went in and took all odds to win the league, to win the tournament, in the strongest RPI league in the country. Again, I mean, you can dislike Bill Self all you like. You can say he did some illegal recruiting. You can say he's kind of brash and he can be prickly. You can say all that, but I will say one thing: he sure does win. He sure does.
Gets lots of W's, right? Yeah. He gets lots of those.
Yes,
that's what it's all about. I don't want to hear about the illegal recruiting and all that crap either, because that's like banging trash can lids. That's just a guy busting his butt trying to find other ways to win. And what? Wait till we get.
If you ain't cheating.
Yeah. Well, wait till we get a couple years from now when NILs really kick in. And we got college basketball players making as much as NBA players. It's going to be really goofy.
As I said, there's been many pieces of paper that had a map and a shovel that were left in a kid's dorm room. So believe me, if you think that your school is just above all that cheating, boy, I've got some swampland you need to come by real quick, because man, if you're good, believe me, there are some handshakes going on with some money being crossed from one hand to the other at every institution on some form and level. There's no question about it. Somebody's buying a meal, somebody's doing this, whatever. It's being done. And I think that's the reason why now the NCAA finally had the belly up of that NIL rule and said, hey, let's go. With our shorts down, you guys take it. Because you know what? We've got to try to curtail the illegal side of all of this stuff. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But yes, that is our final 4 picks for you. We'll give you our winners next week. See if we come unscathed through the first couple of games this weekend. Like I said, I'm looking forward to the adult beverage and water and a nice meal and multiple TV sets, and bring on the madness. I'm looking forward to it, buddy.
Absolutely. I am too, my friend.
Yep. Well,
that is watching the waiver wire and seeing, like, literally in the last 5 minutes, there's been 4 new signings in baseball, and I'm waiting for the next trade to go down. It's an insanely exciting time in sports.
And,
I'm
and
proud to be part
baseball
of it.
made it that way. Thank
Yeah.
you, baseball, for helping fuel the fire into this, man, because I need my hot stove league back, and it's here now. Hot stove league, it's back. You know?
Yeah.
Regular programming is on the MLB network. Yes. I love it.
Although I have enjoyed the games from the 70s and 80s,
yes. Oh,
they've
don't
been
get me wrong.
showing.
From December to January, I had no problems watching those games because I kept saying, you know what, this is a nice little break watching this. Maybe we'll get some movement going here. Hey, if they want to do that again next year after the winter meetings, go with just live games, those old games, you got my vote, buddy. I'm all for it. Nothing better than watching those 74 A's and Dodgers playing the World Series. I had no problem watching that. I mean, 73, excuse me. But yeah, I had no problem watching that. That was golden stuff, man. Really was. So we do appreciate you listening to us. We enjoy bringing this to you next week. Listen to us when you're walking your dog or you're out working out or in the car. We will be back next week with, man, we should probably have a whole lot of signings by this time next week. We should have baseball rolling by then. And the NBA playoffs knocking on the door here, and hockey playoffs. I mean, if you think about it, just about 3 weeks, we're going to be talking about hockey playoffs around here. And I know for some people here in the Dallas Stars, we're trying to hang on by the very edge of that 8th seed here. So, but anyway, we do appreciate you being here. We will be back next week. Billy, always a great time talking with you, buddy. Love you, man. I'll touch base with you this weekend, my man.
Look forward to it, Kenny.